Good morning. DeBeers is over 100 years old, and for most of its history, they have run the global diamond industry. 90% of the world's diamond trade was controlled by DeBeers. The company controlled the supply side of the industry through their mining operations in Africa. DeBeers also controlled the pricing of diamonds by restricting that supply and by managing a small number of large buyers across the world. DeBeers was also one of the greatest marketing companies of all time. Many of us grew up seeing ads in newspapers, magazines, and on TV. The 2 months salary rule, for example, which somehow established the expected budget for engagement rings, that came from DeBeers. Now the DeBeers empire is collapsing. The company is looking for a buyer, but nobody wants to take it at anywhere close to the price DeBeers hopes to get. And that's because there aren't any institutional buyers who can see how to get around the China problem. Demand for natural diamonds has fallen apart in China, down by half in 5 years. Chinese retailers are sending tens of millions of dollars worth of inventory back to DeBeers every month. That supply coming back to the global markets is crashing prices everywhere else. Young people in China prefer diamonds that are grown in Chinese labs to the natural stones hauled out of the ground in Africa and polished by DeBeers. So over $30 million per month of stones are coming back out of China and going to India and blowing up markets there. Across the world, prices for rough diamonds are down 50% in 2 years. And for finished stones, prices are down by over a third. Lab-grown diamonds are the same, chemically, as natural stones, and it's a mechanical and industrial process to make those. Once perfected, it was simply a matter of time before lab-grown diamonds became just another commodity. Boston Consulting Group says that diamond production has gone up by 10 times in 6 years. Demand and pricing for natural stones are getting wiped out. Wholesale prices for the lab-grown stones are down over 90% in that time, 5 years, and now are slightly over the cost of production. This is a perfect example of the law of one price. The diamond market is commoditized now because of lab-grown diamonds from China. Diamond prices across the world are going to fall as Chinese production rises. Diamonds are small and easy to transport, so the lower prices in China translate immediately to lower prices in India and London and New York. The United States is the largest retail market for diamonds, and over half the engagement rings sold in the US last year were grown in labs. Natural stones still enjoy a large price premium over lab-grown diamonds, but that premium is falling, just not as fast. A 1-carat stone grown in a lab is now $745, down 86% in 10 years. A natural diamond is down 40% since that time, now just under $4,000. But that shows that there is still a big market for natural stones, and buyers are still willing to pay a premium for the prestige of a natural stone. But that right there is part of the problem. The markets are ignoring this retail price premium because they don't believe that DeBeers will be capturing that premium for much longer. DeBeers is owned by Anglo-American, and they're looking to offload the company, to sell it. But they're aggressively cutting the book value of their DeBeers holding from $10 billion to $5.5 billion in just 2 years. Even the accountants at DeBeers don't think that these profits are going to last. There are two major problems facing DeBeers. Trump's tariffs are already hurting them. The United States has no domestic diamond mining industry, so there is no such thing as a made in America natural diamond, nor will there ever be. So this entire trade is coming from overseas, and all of it is subject to new high tariffs, and those are yet another hit to demand in their biggest market. So DeBeers has lost control of pricing and the entire demand side of the diamond trade. Now they've got another huge issue from their supply side. Botswana is the world's largest producer of rough diamonds, and 70% of DeBeers diamonds come from Botswana. DeBeers will cease to exist if things fall apart for them in Africa on the producer side, and the governments in Africa know that too. In February, a new deal was signed which doubled the revenues that Botswana will receive from supplying DeBeers. This agreement is the realization on DeBeers' part that it's trapped. African producers know they can produce natural stones and still make markets if they can get DeBeers and all the middlemen out of the way. A third of Botswana's economy and 80% of its exports flow through DeBeers to global markets. But DeBeers is just the middleman who has some vaults in London and big marketing and advertising budgets. Botswana wants to move down the value chain and move more of the industry in country. Botswana wants for their domestic diamond industry what cocoa producers in West Africa have done there by eliminating middlemen and brokers that book rent-seeking profits by managing brands and marketing in Western wholesale and retail markets. The new minerals minister wants to increase even more the country's ownership in DeBeers to gain control over those parts of the industry. The implication here is that DeBeers doesn't exist without Botswana's stones, and their new president knows it. Botswana wants to get a much bigger chunk of that markup, the 4 times difference between what comes out of the ground in Botswana and what DeBeers makes for selling finished stones. Move the high-skilled jobs to Africa and take control of the value chain and go directly to buyers. Each percentage point that Botswana can capture for themselves is millions of dollars in new GDP and government revenues, which can be used domestically. Diamond producers in other African countries are paying close attention. This paragraph right here, again, this premium between extraction in Africa and retail in the United States is still enormous, and producers in Africa are demanding more of it for themselves. So there is no way out for DeBeers. Producers of lab-grown diamonds in China are smashing prices down to just above their cost, the Chinese cost of production. And diamond wholesalers in China are sending $30 million a month of unsold inventories back to global markets, which blows up pricing even further. Trump's tariffs mean that even higher prices for natural stones are coming for customers in the United States, which damages their sales there. Buyers of natural stones in the U.S. don't even get to enjoy those falling prices nearly as much as buyers in other markets. And now African countries understand that it will be they who can take over this industry no matter what happens in China and no matter who is in the White House as soon as they can get rid of DeBeers. This is Phoenix Island, Hainan. Be good.
Father, thank you for this precious brother who has come. Thank you for making him a man of integrity and honor and wisdom. Thank you for making him a brother. Empower him. Fill him with your Holy Spirit.